when he got busted. He beat Carl Lewis. He got busted, and they say no. I think it got a lot more attention than it did before. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Beat
Yep.
the most. He beat the most world-renowned sprinter in the world, which was Carl Lewis.
Hmm.
And I beat Carl Lewis. I beat Carl Lewis in '96. That's my claim to fame. I beat Carl Lewis in '96, the Olympic year, and beat him out on the Olympic team to compete in the Olympics in '96. I wasn't using supplements, but when Ben Johnson, I think it was the '88 Seoul Games, where he looked back at Carl Lewis, and everybody's like, something's wrong. And here's the thing that I found out about that situation: if they would have tested him one day later, that he would have passed because he was using Winstraw V, which is in and out of your system within the day. So he was using Winstraw V, not testosterone, Winstraw V, which is a cutter, which is a fast twitch muscle supplement. He would have passed the test. Would have passed it. So, but because he beat Carl Lewis and it was so, it was, I don't know when to say obvious, but it was questions. And, and then again, I've had friends like Marion Jones, CJ Hunter, Maurice Green, all these guys start getting tested because it was a guy who was going around making a designer steroid and was selling them to the athletes. What he did later was said, "Hey, I want to get paid for I want to get paid to be quiet." And all these athletes are like, "I'm not paying you shit." So what did he do? He dropped off a sample to the USOC, which is the United States Olympic Committee Federation, and basically the USOC went back and went back and retested all those samples, and athletes started dropping like flies, like flies, like flies, because there was a masking agent in the drugs that he was giving them to make sure that they passed the test. That's why the Russians are in trouble right now. Now, you remember this last year Olympics, they weren't allowed to compete, because they kept getting in trouble for it. So everybody, at the end of the day, regardless of what sports, whether it's bodybuilding, track, football, whatever the case may be, everybody's looking for an edge to be better. And that's just the world we live in as far as sports are concerned. Everybody wants the edge. Is it
Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent? It's a matter of opinion.
Hmm. Here, right. Thing from my man Raheem says, uh, "I'm working out 7 days a week. People tell me I'm huge, and I don't take performance enhancements. Well, sometimes genetics is also a factor because
Yes,
some people can build muscle real good.
yes.
Some it might take them a lot longer. Sometimes you get the if you have that gifted genetics, that's the bonus. But then some people have to work harder, and then you do have to use something to help them out. Here we go. We got another one from. He says, "Palico, that's who you talking about,
Yes,
Keith."
absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
Balco is it. And
Palico.
again, everybody sits there and says, like Raheem says, or everybody at my gym says I'm huge. I mean, and a guy walks in like me, and then you're not so huge. And no disrespect, but it all depends. How many people come up to me and says, "I got a friend that looks just like you," and I'm like, "Really? Cool. I want to meet him."
Yeah. Well, that's it is that not everybody's friend is always like I say, we can't all be all Schwarzenegger. We can't all be Derek Lawson. We can't all be Samson Dua. But any athlete who gets in the sport, except again, we talk about Barry Bonds and the Mark McGuire thing. Everybody needs that
Sammy
edge to
Sosa.
help. Sammy Sosa, can't forget Jose Canseco. Uh,
And Jose
you know,
Canseco was the one to put everybody on blast. And I remember
he's a
it was
snitch.
at the Arnold. And remember he had start talking about it and end up not having a lot of friends after that.
Yeah, because you snitch. You don't snitch on, everybody else when you know you're doing it. That's the terminology of a snitch. When you're doing a crime and you snitch on other criminals on it, you're a snitch. It's one thing. Okay, if I did something, if I see a crime happens, I'm a citizen informing the police, letting know what's going on. I'm not asking nothing out of it. I'm just doing my duty as a citizen. But when you're a criminal or you're somebody involved in that world and you tell about what everybody else is doing, you're a snitch. That's people
Yep.
got to tell the difference. Yeah.
Well, it's like Jay Z say, back in the day, snitching. They called you a bitch, but now these days snitches make you cool or whatever. Some things just know not to be told. But again, at the end of the day, Some people, Jose Canseco as he ended his career, Lao Zato. Lao Zato was one of the first people who I really realized, before knowing anything about supplementation, everybody starts saying, "Oh, he died because of this and he died because of that." I always tell people, just go watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster. That tells you everything you need to know about our sport. At the end of the day, you know.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is that this is the thing about. That's why we talk about how we need more people to educate themselves about the sport of bodybuilding and also the sports in general of how what to use, what performance enhancers, and also practices and training, you know. And again, people always gonna make the assumption is if I take this, take that, I'm gonna get big and buff, or it's gonna help me, but it doesn't help you hit a ball. It doesn't help you run faster. You know, it might give you time to build more muscle, but you need the talent with the muscle. If you don't have it, there's no point taking anything.
And again, like you said, there's a whole bunch of entities that the biggest entity for a lot of these athletes that take supplements is recovery and longevity. You know, you recover faster and longevity, and who doesn't want that? That's why you see, these wellness clinics all over the place because they understand the big. I mean, think about it. You got who was it? The guys that do the and so can you the testosterone commercials. Big what's his name? Frank Thomas
Frank
and
Thomas, yeah,
yeah. I mean, why do you think those guys are doing those commercials?
they get paid. Frank Thomas and Doug Flutie.
For what?
Hey, talking with the wife right now. Hello, Tina. But yeah,
I'm doing.
hey, how you doing?
I'm
Yeah.
good.
I want to tell you something, Tina. You heard about Arnold? I want to get mad.
That's a cuss word. That's a big cuss word in our world.
Well, I know I'm not going to say anymore because the babies are with you today. I'm going to be,
Oh,
nice.
they're
But
used to it. It's fine.
yeah,
It's like
but yeah,
Helena said. What did Helena say in that post?
I'll
she
be
Babe?
said
transitioning.
she's going to transition. You got to think about it. That's $700,000. That can really change your life.
Yeah, well, it's a million if you go to the one in the UK. So who wouldn't want? You don't think these guys are all jumping in that shit now? You can go from the Arnold to the UK, and in less than what a month make $1 million. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just a double standard. You saw the thing that Linda Murray posted a while. Okay, here we got here from man. Raheem says, actually, they snitched back in the days. Nothing has changed. Yeah, we all know. Snitching is something that's new. You remember, Judas snitched on Jesus. So what happened? What happened with that? So, so it's not nothing new. But again, I think people need to educate of what is the difference between performance enhancers, steroids, and whatever ped you use. Some of those things are used for medical reasons to help people, with issues like he said with people like you with the dwarfism, people who have issues
AIDS
like
victims, AIDS. Yeah,
people who have like issues like with what's the we get the little inhaler. What's the I think,
asthma, asthma.
asthma? You
I
know,
have one. I have asthma, and I was born with it. I had to get approved by the USOC to even use an inhaler, and it's albuterol. So there's combuterol, which is a asthmatic medication, but there's also clenbuterol, that's a fat burner and a bronchodilator as well. So there are two different things. But when you're looking at the USOC rules, you have to get approved for these certain things and a doctor's note and all these things before you can use them. So, again, it's just another cutting edge thing, for athletes to be able to open up their bronchodilators even more so they can breathe even more. So, yeah, there's so many entities to this damn subject, George. It's not even funny.
yeah. Here we got somebody. We got here a guest. Keith, come on, boy. Come in here, boy. It's Raheem Hamilton.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, gentlemen. I might as well just talk when I'm on the bus. Okay, so your topic is very interesting, but like I said, it's not really more perform enhancements because it's common knowledge that the athletes across sports use perform enhancements. It's not that. It's just how do you regain popularity back to the sport? That's the whole purpose. That's the whole thing. Like I said, there isn't a face for an average fans to get to know them. Okay, so like I said, I noticed on what's that female physique, Amanda. I saw her Facebook or her Instagram how her and I guess Chelsea were in New York, and you had people stopping them, taking pictures and anything. There was nobody was putting them down, being disrespectful, anything, even if they were with their man or not. People were actually embracing the sport. So there is a fan base out there. Two, the biggest problem is this. Again, I'm going to say it. And if I say it, I might be, I might make enemies. The athletes doubt themselves. They're in their head rent free all the time, thinking that just because we're certain trolls say on the internet, that's how everybody believes. That's how they believe everybody is outside. That's number one. Number two, the biggest market again is NYC, New York, and originally California, where Gold's Gym was at. Bodybuilders abandon those two markets for something small and smaller towns and everything, so it's be more convenient for them. That's the wrong step. The thing is to grow the sport. You can't just compete in the small markets. You got to compete in the big markets, and the big markets is New York, California. I mean, nothing's wrong with Chicago. Chicago's the third market, but the other places, it's too small. And I think, and that's how where a lot of people will get to know them. I mean, some of these towns like Tennessee, certain places in Tennessee, some places in Florida, those are, they're small markets. To get it back out there, to get people to be reinvested into the sport, you got to go to these big markets. When I saw that Instagram video with Amanda and everybody was, people who were not even athletic was taking pictures with them, I was very impressed. I said, this is where they need to be. And then I said what I said earlier about maybe New York Pro should focus on women's physique because the lack. I mean, you talk about the biggest show in after Olympia because New York Pros and Olympia, right? New York is a big, big market. It should be every female who can be there, compete because they were more for the physique than it was for bodybuilding. And maybe as much as y'all don't like Arnold, but maybe he's right. Maybe no there is no popularity in female bodybuilding. The thing that is popular is physique. And like I said, but again, going back to that, performance enhancement is everywhere. It's in all sports. Like Keith says, in all sports, he's correct. Everybody knows that. But the thing that what makes the sports more popular, people not focused on enhancements, is the athletes, the stars, the teams. Bodybuilders is is an individual sport, and there's the one can say, "Hey, I like this person, I like that person." Like how back then people say, "Oh, I like Arnold, I like Lou." You know, that was back then. Now it's who is the face. So that's the real issue, and I'm gonna land my plane right there.
Yeah, we have the comment from man Dating J just dropped through here. He says this. He says, "I'm new to the channel and I have to ask Keith: is his wife an Ivy Pro athlete that I may know? Well, his wife is the lovely Miss Tina S. Williams. She is Ivy bodybuilding pro, multiple time Weezer fit strength competitor, and she's been a pro for the past almost 8, 9 years. I mean, it's still flying by, huh, Tina? You're old head to this, huh?
What?
You been how long you
Yeah,
been
right.
as a pro? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and that's the thing is,
Um,
I th- I think
2008 when I turned pro.
2008 is when she turned pro.
2008.
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's still yeah. I mean, I've seen time's flying. It won't be long for it's Christmas. But but the thing is, I think the thing with the issues with steroids, it's always going to be a double side when it comes to certain sports. Like I said again, what he said earlier, the mainstream sports like football, basketball. I remember there were players getting busted, but still they usually get a pass. Like I said, I do content in UFC and also in MMA, and some of those fighters, like one guy stick out is mostly John Jones. He has been busted for use of it. He's a pretty good fighter, but he has used. And it was a few years ago where he was fighting a title fight, but because there's some laws in Vegas, in Nevada, where he couldn't fight because he had a picogram of tunnelball in his system. So what he did was he moved the fight to Anaheim, California, because I think they allow you to fight with that picogram in you. Sometimes also it's all where you at. As like Raheem said, California, I think there's more, allowance for certain things. Like I just saw a video, you haven't seen it. It's Chris Camille and Dorian Yates smoking a doobie. Yeah, I know it's a doobie because it wasn't no cigar. You know,
Shit,
I
Arnold was
like
working one on his what was that? Pumping Iron shit at the
yeah,
industrial. Yeah, you talking about that was back in the
yeah.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the favorite scenes. Like he's sitting there, you remember he talks about how he says, "Bodybuilder, I feel like I'm coming. I got to be careful with the kids," but that's crazy. But I think some drugs do help in your process. That's why you're seeing a lot. Like the thing that's really blowing up now is marijuana being used. Because one thing, a fight a while back, he got suspended because he used marijuana before a fight. But the thing with marijuana, it doesn't enhance you. What it do is relaxes your body. It takes, you don't feel as pain as bad, but still, it's, in some states like, Nevada, it's practically legal. California, I think who else? Colorado, right now, I think it's like about at least 10 or 12 states where it's legal. But then you take it out of the state and go to another state where it's not legal. Because I live in the Bible Belt, you know, like I would say, me and Keith's in Kansas, I'm in North Carolina. That's the Bible Belt. That's the religious circle. They don't believe in those drugs, but they're starting to pick up other areas where they see there's a use for it, especially for medical issues, like you're dealing with some kind of mental schizophrenia, because the drugs that you use for that issues can be really harsh. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You know,
Here goes here go from me from
but here's
David
the
J.
funny thing. Here's the funny thing. Oh, go ahead. What's yours?
No, go ahead, go ahead. You go back to say.
Here's the funny thing about our world, how hypocritical we are. Doctors will pass out oxycodone and all these, hydrocodone and all these drugs out to people for pain and all this other shit, which people get hooked on. But nobody talks about that though. You know why? Because the doctors are actually, if the doctors were getting paid good money to give people steroids, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But because they're not making money off of it, the pharmaceutical companies are not making money off of it, that's where the problem lies, which I find funny. Because opioids is the biggest problem in our country, but nobody's talking about that. There's actually people dying from opiate use, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about fucking steroids. Really? We're talking about PED. You tell me the number of people who died from opioids versus PEDs in the last 20 years. Talk to me. Somebody talk to me. Because people died more from opioids than they will ever die from steroid use. That's a fucking fact.
Mhm.
But because our medical industry and our government makes money off of it, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it goes
Think
back.
about
You can't, bite the hand that feeds you. A lot of these doctors, they do make money from these pharmaceutical companies. They get like a little per deal. Remember it was like certain places where it's usually those drugs was used for, like, if you remember back in the day, cocaine used to use for doctor dentists used for teeth, and now you snort it. Opium was used for healing from injuries and pain. Now you can smoke it.
it. Yeah.
Most of your major drugs were used for medical purposes.
What's our biggest problem in the world right now? Fentanyl. Everybody's lacing every drug with fentanyl, and kids and people are dying like flies. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about PEDs.
That's why they're trying to tell people that buying drugs off the street is bad because they're getting laced.
Yeah. And like Tina said, that's why they're telling people buying drugs off the street are bad because they're being laced with all these drugs. But again,
And you don't know till it's
fentanyl
too late.
started. Yeah, they gave me fentanyl when I was in the hospital for my back surgery, and I refused because I'm like, I don't want to get addicted to shit. Remember, I broke my ankle in the league, and they were trying to give me oxycodone. I'm like, or hydrocodone, or oxycodone, whatever the addictive one is. I'm like, I'm good because, you get on that shit, and some people can't get off. So I'm like, no, just give me some ibuprofen, some other stuff because it's just not worth it. But again, pharmaceutical companies are in bed with the government to make money, so of course they don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that's one thing that affected some areas because the whole thing when a certain dumbass talk about they're eating yeah, but because there was an area where most of the people were on those drugs and they needed workers who wanted to work. I would say like most if you're either it's one thing. Remember the crack epic was really big, but now the opium has outdid crack and cocaine. It's just the rules are always different when it comes to certain drugs. Give me a second here. We got here to my man Damien says, "Oh Tia, yeah, I seen her on the right at the Rising Phoenix a couple of times. Yeah." He says, nice to meet you, Tina. And also, shout out to my man Damien J says, also nice to meet you, Keith. My man right, he came back. Need to pop up for a second. Yo, what's up?
Yeah, stuff bumped out. But hear me out. I get what you listen. It's bodybuilding. Every like I said, it's common knowledge. This is what in order to be IFBB pro, this is what you got to do. Again, it's apples to oranges. You know that back in '91 they said they made steroids outlaw, but again, they still held the Miss Olympia or the Olympians back in 91, 92. If the government was so serious about their steroid usage, let me ask you this question. Just hear me out. How come over the weekend you had the New York Pro? Did you see any DEA or drug enforcement shut that down? Did you see them shut down the Olympia in Vegas last year? No, they did not. The problem is not real. This is what y'all, this is what athletes do. This is what y'all, as bodybuilders, said. This is what my goal is. In order to become a pro, not only do I have to work out, I have to use a performance enhancement. Okay. Does Hollywood? Let me explain it to you. Hollywood does not always going to make things happy. It's happy to be some drama in everything. You know what I'm saying? Bodybuilding, sports, there's going to be. You know what I'm saying? You can't do a feel good movie about baseball if there's no drama. So if there's no what sex, drugs, and stuff like that in a baseball movie, people are like, oh, this is a boring ass movie. So that's why it's not just bodybuilding they always shine a negative light. They did a movie about the wrestler a couple of years ago. They made a dark side about wrestling. So every sport in Hollywood is not always going to have a feel good vibe to it unless it's aimed for family and kids. If it's just for adults, then it's going to have that negativity. Look at Dwayne Johnson. He's about to do that fight, that movie about the MMA fighter.
Mark
It's going to be a
Cross.
lot of drama in it. Yeah. So again, the goal is everybody knows performance enhancement is there. Like I said, when I saw, and I'm going to say shout out to Amanda, when I saw her and Chelsea in New York on her Instagram video, people embraced them. There was no, oh, you look like a man, or oh, you're a freak of nature. Nobody in New York was chasing them down the block into a corner alley. They wasn't screaming, I'm not an animal. They wasn't doing that. So I'm just trying to figure out where is this negativity at about the sport. The problem is again, they have to grow it, not just the promoters, because I know you keep throwing up promoters, but the athletes themselves has to also promote the sport. And like I said, trolls are going to be trolls. At the end of the day, there are going to be trolls. I'm not going to deny that. There will be trolls. But again, it's not just a perform enhancement because listen, we seen athletes when it doesn't matter if it's a bodybuilder or basketball player or football player, when you see them retire and they don't have to go to the gym anymore, they don't have to work out, they don't have to do a diet or anything. They look like they say, this is the real me, this is my real body. Yes, I have a man boob. Yes, I have a gut. You'd be like, wow, when you was playing with the Chicago Bulls, you was cut up. Now you retired, you all look at Carmelo Anthony. When Carmelo Anthony played, he was skinny as hell. Now that he's retired, he's relaxing, he gained the weight back. You know what I'm saying? So this is what happens to all athletes. So I just want to say is this: I want to be positive about it. Performance enhancements, Georgia Wright is everywhere. It's not just bodybuilding, but the thing is, don't it's not just bodybuilding. People really do respect you, Keith, your wife, and everything. They will ask you questions. If y'all go to New York, you will see y'all get the love. Y'all get the love everywhere. I don't think no one's actually being negative in front of y'all. The only people that being negative are the ones on social media. Those ones who are hiding. Because they know if they say something disrespectful to you or your wife, Keith, in front of your face, you'll beat the shit out of them. So come on, man. Let's keep it 100.
Yeah, yeah. Well, while he was talking about, because I just pulled that up, he has here Chelsea with her boyfriend, Madame Machado with her fiance. They're in Chicago. You see this?
They in New York, not Chicago.
Here,
Oh, New
straight
York,
from
sorry.
New York. We just competed this weekend. It's like a dream. It's such a big show, not only because Steven is the promoter and Steven is by far the head judge and one of the most important persons in the federation, but New York has a really cool name to it because it's in New York. In New York City, to me at least, represents Dom because Dom is from here. Yeah. But it's also such an iconic city. And we are able to do what we are doing now. So we are spending the day in New York, in getting our steps in. Yeah, getting our steps in, getting our pizza in. We've been eating pizza nonstop now, guys, and we've been waiting for this moment. Of course, we've been dieting for 4 months to get to the New York Pro, and then finally we're here eating New York pizza, and it's nothing like it. I'm still dieting. I'm still getting ready for a show, so we have 3 more weeks to get back on track. Just today. Just today. So it's very important, guys, too, to actually have a day after the show to not go too crazy, but to enjoy yourself, because at the end of the day, we deserve it. But the day after this, though, like tomorrow, she'll do a fast for 14 hours, and we'll pull her carbs down, like pretty much. She'll do like a ketogenic day tomorrow, so her glycogen stores aren't oversaturated, and then within 48 hours, she'll be back into like an optimal fat burning zone. So getting ready for a low carb today, so but today's a high carb day. Getting our ice cream in. Yeah, I've never been here, so this is my first time, and it honestly looks like a giant movie set. It's really cool. So I'm glad that we're doing this, getting to explore, and that's the great thing about competing is the places that it takes you. Yeah, absolutely. And it's awesome to be able to explore with one of my best friends and our men. Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we were talking about it today is that a lot of people think of the competition in bodybuilding just as a way to qualify for the Olympia, when in all honesty, there are so many things that you're gonna gain by stepping on a big stage. Yesterday, Chelsea won, which is fantastic. But aside from winning, there are a lot of exposure for all the athletes. So, for example, giving my experience myself, and I'm sure a lot of athletes out there experience the same. If they get third place or if they get second place, but they are compared to very good athletes, or they have a very good presentation, a very well put together posing routine, mandatory poses were all executed correctly. Physique was much better improved from the previous show. Stepping on a stage like New York Pro will give more of an exposure to the viewers of the people who truly matter in our industry. So, for example, there are a lot of media uh, involved yesterday of people that don't necessarily knew who we were. Not that we want to be recognized by everyone, but it's almost like when an artist works on a project and he wants to present in an art gallery, So we want to be seen by people who appreciate bodybuilding, the fans, the industry, other competitors, media, and New York gives you that platform to do so. So I think that you gained more of a fan base, right? Potentially sponsorships. And I don't think that will come just if you win. But if you have a presence on stage, I remember seeing athletes on stage that I don't know if they won or not, but I remember them. Yes, yeah. We're gonna go explore the rest of the city, and we'll see you guys later. I love New York.
That's pretty cool. I mean,
That was pretty cool. That was
yeah,
really
pretty.
cool.
Yeah, this is from 'cause this is from Amanda Machado's from her YouTube channel. Go check out Amanda's channel. She took second.
I told you, George.
Yeah, I know. I'm following. I've been following her. I saw the video actually, brother. And
No, no,
also,
I'm talking about New York. New York.
oh, I don't know. I'm from the country. I don't know about y'all New Yorkers. Y'all kind of, you might look at me. I might look at you funny. You might shoot me.
No, no, the key thing, like I said, first of all, the New York Pro needs to go back to the Tribeca theater back in Chambers Street instead of get out T-Bag. But the thing I was saying is, this is where the big market is where the athletes need to be at. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was
Mhm.
so upset about it being three competitors. Like Amanda said, New York is where the opportunities happen. This is your platform. If you want to get the bag, this is where it's at. Because she's right. Win or lose, if you're here, this is where all the marketing is at. This is where you can get your platform. You can get the bag. Because again, I keep telling everybody, to athletes, the money is not always in the prize or the contracts. The money is the endorsements. When you're dealing with big cities like New York, LA, Chicago, that's where it's going to be at. So say if you don't win your first prize, guess what? This might be a business opportunity out at the show. And when I say business, I'm not talking about only things. I'm talking about big business. You know what I'm saying? So this is what needs to be.
Yeah, because I think they were at a clothing store. You never know. The next time they there again, they might get that clothing designer maybe to sponsor an athlete or sponsor a show. Yeah. But you gotta find people who's willing to put their money where their mouth is. That's the thing, big thing about it. You know how people want to, because some people are fans, but they don't want people to know, kind of like undercover. Like you're dating this ugly chick, and you don't want my know you're dating her, but hey, she's not that bad. But everybody else got an opinion of her. But that's the thing. Other people's
George,
opinions
you
should
just saw
matter.
people embrace you. You just saw people embrace them in New York. They not
Yeah,
listen again. It's not an issue about a woman with muscles. That's not the issues.
but
I
except
guarantee. It's not the issue. Trust me, George. It's not. It's in their heads. Let me tell you something now. It's in their heads. If they walked around New York City all day, either they're gonna gain friendships, connections. If they single, they may get a man. They might get a couple of dudes that be like, because you don't get it twisted. Ain't nobody gay. They gonna be like, I don't care if you fat, thick, or with muscle. If you a gorgeous woman, you're going to get hollered at. They don't get. I don't know. That's what's going on in New York. I don't, and other places too. It's not
yeah,
about that. It's
but the thing
trust me.
is, I know that, but you also you haven't heard. There's always that flip side to it.
Yep.
Some people are not a fan.
Nope.
That's New York, but you got to think about it. New York, even though it's one of the biggest cities in the world, most traveled city, but there's still other places
New
where
York is a big melting pot too.
yeah,
Duh.
yeah, it's more acceptable. But still,
Yeah.
other places, like you said, come down to the south, it's different compared to that. You go to, I think one place that is very acceptable would be California. But you got to think about every market is going to be different, and
Yep.
everybody, especially instead of I'm in the south, we're very religious. They just recently put a thing where you had to put an ID so you can watch Pornhub, or you have to use your ID now. It's North Carolina, South Carolina, some other southern states. You know, I
if
think
you
somebody
if
said,
you have a great sorry, if you have a great personality, I get what you're saying, Joe, but if you have a great personality and you got the charisma, trust me, I don't care if you're in New York, I don't care if you're down south where you're at, I don't even care if you're in the middle of North Dakota. If you have a great personality and great charisma, there'll be people who will respect you. Like, I like her, she's cool. Or yeah, maybe bodybuilding's not my thing, but wow, she has a great personality, or he got a great personality, just like Keith. Keith is in Kansas City. I don't know what
Yeah.
Kansas City is. It Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri? I don't know because there's
Kansas
two of
City,
them. But
Kansas. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But it's,
no,
it's
that's
you know,
bad.
but it's I mean, it's acceptable. I mean, like
Yeah,
Tina doesn't get the flack. Maybe she does. I mean, but that's because ignorance, it lies anywhere. It lies in New York.
yeah,
It lies in California. It's just who you run into. Is the bottom line at the end of the day. And I mean, and sometimes you just got to educate people.
mhm,
Because ignorance is bliss. At the end of the day, so you just
yeah,
got to educate people. You
yeah.
know. So,
And I think you have to be, and people can, you have personality, but if people don't get to know you first, if they see what they see first and make assumptions because they see you physically, they don't really know you without talking to you, they're gonna go with their first thoughts. And that's the thing. Yes, there are people willing, open, hey, but you have to get to know that person. But if you're not willing to get to know a person, you're not gonna know anything about it. You're just gonna
Nope.
make, that's the thing is, you know. So, I feel my brother, he got something to do today. He's out with the family. We don't want to
Oh,
hold him up.
graduate dresses for Kansas. He graduating to middle school, so got to do the
Oh,
yeah
congratulations to our little Kansas.
somewhere
You know
around
what?
there.
I know I do this. I'll send a little something. I'll send a little something, for her. Yeah. I gotta put it in a way where it's nice. Something, every little girl likes a little something. But I want, when's the
You have to
graduation?
say hi to Georgia.
Hi.
What you want?
Going shopping for graduation.
But what you want?
He said,
You
"What you want?"
want me to see something?
Everything. Don't ask. That is a bottomless question. Don't ask her
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, don't ever ask people that because if you don't got the money for it, don't do it, man. They're gonna be like,
Like I said,
cause
I'm
she
a great.
what did she say? What did she say? I want a new pair of
Hey,
Jordans.
hey, what she
I
just
can
say?
give you, baby. I can't see some money.
What did she just tell me? I'm spending your money, Dad.
That's what they say. That's what they want. Money, women. She's a woman now. She wants to spend money, money.
Yes, money, money,
Your
money.
money, her money,
I'm like,
not her money, but your wife's money.
it's so
Yeah.
funny because she says, why are we so rich?" And I said, "We. When did we start speaking French?" That's the question. When did you get a job?
Where's your job? You got no job, Tommy.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. I
Here
learned
we
that
got
from the
here.
Cosby Show back in the day.
Yeah. Here, man. Damon J. Shot Damon J. He says this. He says, New York does have the best pizza.
Yeah, they
Chicago
got
might say
great
something
pizza.
different. I mean,
Now
okay,
Chicago
well,
got the best deep pan pizza, not the best pizza. You got that's what they have.
where everybody was they say they had the best pizza, but I remember watching a thing with John Stewart talking about it's like a casserole. It's like you was talking shit. But yeah, but brother, we're not gonna hold you much longer.
All
And
right,
this
I'll
is
talk to you guys soon.
all right.
All right,
Appreciate you.
peace.
Yeah, you have a good time. But yeah, again, we go back to the subject that how steroids is not exclusively just in bodybuilding. It is everything from sports to medication to just helping with health issues from like as Keith said earlier, dwarfism, people dealing with asthma, birth control has steroids. It's different form of steroids. I remember when I got hurt one time, it was dealing with it was a back issue, and I was I want to talk with this lady. I said yeah. She said, "Oh, we hadn't hear you along for long. Where you been going?" I said, "Well, I got injured a while back, and they gave me some steroids." I said, "What kind of taking?" I told her what it was. I said, "Nah, I can't use that." But here's the thing is that we need to educate people about this. That it's not just the one thing that is, prevalent in bodybuilding. It's about following a diet, working out, training, and be consistent. You know, and you look at other sports, yes, they use it, but still, those athletes they have to train and work out, and they need to recover. It's depending on what you're taking, if it's steroids, if it's a performance enhancer, it's just something that helps you get over dealing with an injury and to help your body recover. It's a purpose. But yes, like anything, it can be abused. But it's up to those people knowing how much to take, what to take, and using smart and safe practices. And again, also, if you have a doctor, deal with a doctor who understands the aspects of it. Don't be careful just of a picture of a pill pusher who just give you something, just to give it to you because he has a contract with the pharmacy company that makes that product. Find someone really cares about your health, you know. And again, those athletes do use it. They use it because they need it for health and recovery. And again, my brother says, if y'all think some shit he takes and don't do what he does, then you're not gonna look like him. You're not gonna look like people like Amanda Machado or Chelsea Dion or Nick Walker's kind of a freak, or any other competitive bodybuilder because they work hard and train just like Barry Bonds, just like Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, I think was it Jason Giambi was busted for it. But because people demonize it, but don't demonize things like fentanyl or oxycodone and Vicodin, and those other drugs. because those drugs get a pass. But steroids always get bullied, but it's in almost everything. That's why there needs to be education, understanding what's involved in not just in bodybuilding, but in sports in general, and also in Hollywood. Some of these athletes, some of these actors use it because hey, they want to do a movie role, they need to build their body, and they get a trainer tell me, hey, this is helping you in the process. You know, but folks, I do appreciate this conversation. You know, shout out to my guest, shout out man, Big Keith Williams coming through. Shout out to Raheem Hamilton coming through. You know, congratulations to again to Chelsea Dion and also to Natalia Correa, and also the other competitors that competed last weekend. Just saw the list for the I'll pull it up real quick. I saw the list for the uh wait a minute, wait a minute.
Hey, what's going on? You close?
Hey,
You
yeah, about
got?
to close out. You want to
Oh,
say something because I'm about to close out.
oh, I didn't. Oh, damn! It's like 6:18. I thought what y'all was talking about.
Where we're talking about steroid use, and Raheem was here, Keith was here,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and we were just also I was going to pull up the list because they put up the list. Or shout to we got to hear from man David J says I like Natalia Kobaleva could have done the New York Pro, increase the numbers for women's bodybuilding, or perhaps she's doing different show. What do you think, Raheem? Since you are a fan, well, Raheem's not here right now, and you talk about Natalia. I don't know what show she's doing. This show she won New York back in 2023, and I don't know. She might be focused on something else. She might try to because there's so few shows. She might go overseas to do shows. But we don't know what her plan is, Damon. But as I said, someone just shot to me earlier before I got on that the list for the Optima Classic has been dropped, and usually they'll drop the list till like about. I remember with Pittsburgh, New York, it was like almost 10 o'clock before they dropped the list. So my guess they were really this show. I think is quite a lot of numbers, here, and I'm going to pull it up. If y'all, I will later on work on a list for this show, and for you guys. So we have here because the Ultima they don't do a pay per view, and it makes no sense. Not a lot of people have the money or time to go to all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana. That's a good trip. I mean, and you rather watch it on a live stream if you can. But here I'm going to pull it up the image, and here we go. Give me a sec. And this is the list right here, and this is women's physique.
That's a long
And
list right now.
yeah, you got a lot of bodies here. I mean, there's some. I think I was supposed. I heard that. Excuse me, Rachel Daniels supposed to do the show, but from the looks of it, I think yeah, she's on it. You have here is Sandra Almero, I believe. That's Barbara, uh, Marika, actually Marika Jones, they call her Bill, Nicolette Burton, both those two I interviewed, Rachel Daniels, Tina Fernandez Parks, or Trap Queen, you interviewed her, Christina Graham, who just competed last year and did made her pro debut, Daphne Holmes, another lady had a guest on here, uh, Gemma Lancaster, Haley Berry, I guess her, Christina Porter, Anna Lynn Pritz, who
Oh
competed
boy,
at the Pittsburgh, Yar Ramos Perez,
Yari Ramos Perez.
yes, Paula Ranta, who just did New York, uh, Mira Ruckman, I interviewed her a while back, another lovely I played of interviewing, Megan Russell, Justine Fredgill, Jess Ubrai, who I interviewed a while back, uh, Yavara, Williams, and Samantha Ray. Me and Miss Samantha, we're talking. I think she's really, she was going through some stuff early this year, but I think she really wants to make her pro debut. But she just turned pro last year. That's another lady I had a pleasure of interviewing on my channel. And I think you have at least, it's a stacked list. I think nearly almost 20 women at the show.
How much
I
for
mean,
wellness? How many? You don't have to
uh,
read it, but you don't have to read it. Just count the names.
at least 12 for wellness.
Yeah.
And then you go to figure. I think this year, truthfully, wins Zeke outnumber figure because you have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And some of these ladies competed at the New York Pro. This one lady here, Gabriella, she's from Czech Republic. She's the one we talked about in the last live stream that she looks like she could be wins physique. And but she's competing here. Another lady who competed also here, uh Ardelia, that's the name. Also, a couple ladies who did the Pittsburgh Pro. We have this lady here. She also did New York, and Melissa Brodsky, who competed at the Pittsburgh. She was in the top 5. So this is. But again, women's physique is stacked. They are not playing. It's the thing that if women bodybuilding had the bodies and numbers, you know, I mean, you have ladies coming from Germany, Finland, Australia, Mexico, and Great Britain
Mm.
and Finland. That's a long way to come to a show, all the way
Yeah.
from those countries to Shreveport, Louisiana. And
Yeah.
this show, it said again, does not have pay per view. That doesn't make sense.
And what's this show with the Vancouver?
No, this is the Shreveport. It's the Ultimate Classic in Shreveport.